All right. Welcome back to the Fall to Summer podcast. Thank you for tuning back in again. It's your girl Bex, and we got Merlin here.
So,
And we've got some new faces.
Hey there, nice to be with you guys today. I'm Nikolai.
And I am Erica Winston.
Hubert King, Junior DD.
Perfect. So, our topic today is parenting during crisis. So, let's start from the beginning. So, we'll start with the Great Recession. For anyone who's not familiar, the Great Recession happened. It's one of our major economic crises when it comes to unemployment post Second War. So unemployment got up to, I want to say it was almost 10% at the time it was estimated. And so as like a kid, obviously I didn't understand what was going on, but like my brother can vouch for this, it was very weird to see, our mother have to like switch jobs and stuff like that because unemployment was getting worse and worse. Did anyone else here experience any issues during that time around 2007 to 2010?
Yes, I've experienced tremendously.
I did myself. I was working with the Wake County Public School System, and they did a big layoff, and I was included in the layoff. And I didn't know what I was going to be doing because I had 3 daughters to take care of. And those girls, I had to do, pretty much what I had to do. I had to go out and try to find work while being on unemployment because I started receiving unemployment from that job. And it was hard trying to find a job because of that. But I end up going back to school and getting my career together so I could better myself as far as my career goes. And now I'm a cosmetologist and been doing that for over seven years. And during that time it was really, really tough.
I could only imagine.
I was gonna say, I'm a single parent at the moment, and shoot, it's tough.
It had its times because I had car payment and rent and was trying to make ends meet as far as taking care of them and food, and it was a struggle. It was a little struggle, but I did what I had to do. Pretty much I end up having losing where I was staying. I ended up having to come back home with my parents, and I was staying with my parents, and because I didn't have the money to pay for bills like I really needed to pay for my home where we were staying, but came back home and pretty much started saving and going back to school so I could provide better for them. And that was pretty much mainly what I ended up having to do, was go back to school to better myself for my girls.
That's very admirable. You were saying something, Merlin?
I was about to say, personally, I do know it's hardly even livable to have kids without a degree at this time and age. I know back then it must have been just as hard, but shoot, I know now I've tried my hardest just to take care of my kids and try to make rent, feeding myself. Lord knows, thank God I always work at fast food jobs, but it's crazy out here. What about you, Mr.
Pretty unfortunate to see a resurgence of the exact same crises as well.
Well, one of the things that jogged my memory so much at that time, I had just bought about 34 houses, and I was in the mix of trying to remodel and to flip. That's what I was doing at that time. Even though money really wasn't a problem because I already had a little money saved up.
From being a contractor?
Yes, I'm a general contractor. And but the thing is that I was at the time, trying to, buy and flip. And I had an inventory of about 34 houses. And then I got to a point where I was finishing some of them off and come to find out I wasn't able to really even refinance the homes because it wasn't even worth the paper they were written on. If I paid $79,000 for a house, I couldn't only get no more than about maybe $32,000 or $37,000 for that home, which I paid $79,000. So it really didn't make that much sense. But what it really did, though, it taught me that you have to keep an eye on what's going on with the economy. Watch these millionaires and these people that got the money because they the one control the economy and the economic growth for America. And if you don't watch what's going on, you can get caught up out there. I had got to a point where I didn't know what to do because I had all these houses and I was renting some of them out. Then people stopped paying the rent. I was just in a mess at that time. But eventually it worked itself out, and it taught me a lot from that.
I bet.
I was gonna say you bought at like the worst time though. I mean, that's like perfect timing just to be like, nah, forget it.
No, it wasn't about the perfect timing. It was before they even came on. I was already buying and flipping houses because in 2004 and 2005 I had bought some houses, and it was just an ongoing. And that's what I was doing at that time, buying and flipping.
Yeah.
But I had messed around and ran into a gentleman. I don't know where he was trying to unload. He had about 1,500 houses that he was trying to get rid of because it's more like a slumlord situation. So you could buy the house pretty reasonable and make money on them, and which I did make money at the beginning. But then when that 2008 fell in, everything fell apart.
Yeah.
Seems like
I'm sorry, Mr. You were saying something?
Say again.
I thought I'd heard Miss Erica is no longer in the call.
Miss Erica, I'm about to text her and see what's up. But did you have any comments? Oh, there she goes.
I mean, I was at the start of the Great Recession. That's 2007, so I might have been around 7 or 8, which would have put Nico. You were probably what?
In my early
12?
teens.
Yeah,
at
you
that
were about
time.
11 or 12. But
Yeah, and living through that period, we did see a lot of hardships. In my life, I've kind of trickled down through all of the class systems. That helps give you perspective, especially when you live through issues like this. And the recession that we ended up having in the late 2000s, it was hard for a lot of families. And as I said, being an adult now, it's difficult to see those exact same issues kind of resurface. And now that you're the one paying the tab on all those bills, you're able to look back on things and see how difficult it was for your parents. I'm currently unemployed, but I don't have children, and to some degree, I'm thankful of that because I can't imagine how difficult it has to be raising a family, during such difficult times.
Very true.
so this brings me to our first question. So we're facing a pandemic now, and we received one stimulus, which we talked about in the last video, but not seeing anything since then, and our unemployment being the highest it's been post Second War. What do you believe the government could be or could have been doing better during crisis, whether, you know, those of us who have experienced, parenting during the Great Recession and even now during COVID? What do you think that the government could have done better back then or could be doing better now to help aid parents, especially single parents?
I want to answer that there, and I just want to
Me
set
per
the
se, I
record
feel
straight.
like
Is
they
that
should
at the
have
time you can't
had
should
different
not ever
programs
lean and
that
depend on the government taking care of
you
you.
could
That's the problem with
build your
America.
career.
What's going on,
If you
buddy?
need a lot of parents lost their homes, um, jobs. They lost a lot of stuff, um, and that's getting groceries and um, daily needs as far as their tissue supplies, their necessities, and different things like that. Which I know that stimulus check that was something to help, but people had bills to pay. Um, they had bill. I know for myself,
You go after Mr.
it
J.
helped out with my bills, but those bills ain't they're not stopping. They're continuing. They go month to month, not just that time frame for that stimulus check. And even then, even when with the Great Recession, if they would have had more things for parents go to go fall back on, I don't think it would have been a big unemployment rate as same as now.
Of
I
course, and
really
I
feel
kind of said something like that along the same point when you guys invited me on the other day. A one and done stimulus bill just doesn't cut it.
no,
People can't survive off of that one handout alone.
no,
The government aid needs to be consistent and regular until we are over this crisis. And there's a couple things that we did go over yesterday that could also help that. Additional aid to parents, some income based on household. In addition to that, so that we don't have another housing crash, something to stimulate that market. Make sure to cover homeowners and renters, so that those properties don't just sink in value. We've let so many things pile onto our plate at once that we really need to hop on it before we, have more than we can handle.
and it's the truth.
Well,
That's
not cutting you short. The thing is, what people got to stop doing
but
is
they're not
depending
doing
on the
anything about
government.
it. They're saying they're going to do stuff about everything at once, but you can't fix everything at once.
Indeed, it is a lot to handle, and I do agree that it is hard to rely on the government to handle everything. But at the same time, this is a national crisis and it needs to be handled in a national way.
Yeah.
Hold on one second. I believe Hubert was saying something before.
He had got up to use the bathroom. If you could, I guess, continue the conversation for a second, he'll be right back. Sorry about that.
Absolutely.
Yes, ma'am.
So,
Dad, come back.
well, we can touch on this a bit. What has been the biggest obstacle you've faced during this pandemic, parenting wise?
Well, parenting wise for me, my daughter is in 12th grade this year. And it is, to me, that's the most hardest thing for a child to be home doing school when 12th grade is the most biggest year, biggest experience of your life. And to be home for school and not being able to go to the school for enjoyment, being there as far as hanging with their friends and during the different activities that they normally participate in, they're not able to do those. Like And even like for next year, we don't even know what's going to be taking place. I don't know if they'll be having prom or what. So that, to me, that's like the most devastating thing ever, to see my daughter in school in her room.
And I have to imagine it's a double-edged sword. I'm sure you must be scared of the idea of, them forcibly opening the schools and then all these kids going there and getting sick.
Yes. And that's something that they're trying to bring forth now. They're trying to have early, pretty much in October, this month, the 26th, they're making elementary school kids go back to school, which to me, elementary school kids, it's going to be so crazy. And I'm like, those kids, they can't keep their mask on, and it's going to spread like wildflower.
Or they like someone else's mask and they switch. That and
Yeah.
also like listen. I swear I love children. I genuinely do. I love them with every fiber of my being. But have you ever seen how children cough?
Oh my God. Yes. They just cough out in the open, and
It's like they're attacking someone like projectilely.
I mean, we do
Yeah.
see it on a yearly basis when even when we're not facing a pandemic. Schools just happen to be disease factories. Children are great
They are.
vectors, and they absolutely tear things up anytime lice, scabies, flu
Yes.
season hits, stomach bug, anything comes around. The whole family gets it.
They care, the whole family.
But that's even worse when it's a deadly pandemic like this one.
It is.
And I fear for the
is.
teachers too, not just the parents. They're forced to come in and do these jobs, regardless of the risks to their own lives.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's one thing that I've noticed. I'm like, they're really putting their lives on the line, because they don't know. You don't know what a kid could be, a carrier, and that kid could carry it into the whole classroom. That whole classroom could be out because of that.
On top
Yeah,
of which, kids don't. I mean, not even just kids. I've known people who have tested positive, who've been positive for weeks, but showed no symptoms for it.
yes.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. That's the scariest thing about a virus. It is a silent killer, and the thing is that I think there's just too much of this country that is becoming too comfortable or too brazen, thinking that this isn't a real issue because they're not seeing the side effects, firsthand. There's too many people that just pretend something doesn't exist when it doesn't affect them directly.
Yeah, hold on. I'm actually looking real quick at the numbers. So, in the U.S., we are at almost 211,000 deaths due to COVID, and then almost 7.5 million cases. Not even half of which people have recovered.
Of course, and the scariest thing about that is that's just the confirmed cases. It's hard to tell how many people out there, have gotten sick and not been confirmed, or even any other numbers that might have been covered up.
But a lot of those cases that were confirmed, they might have had COVID, but they don't necessarily die of COVID. Let's say an older person that has AIDS also gets COVID. They're going to account it to COVID.
Scary. It really is.
There is that too, but one of the scariest things about COVID is the fact that it has lingering symptoms. It can do serious tissue damage, and even if the cause of death isn't COVID, it can lead to exasperating other medical conditions, or even starting long-running medical conditions that could lead to serious injuries and death. It's a scary thing to have out there in the world.
Yeah. Sorry, I was doing something. So, do we have Huber back?
Yes, Mr. King is back.
All right. You were saying something before you left. When we were talking about what the government could be doing better.
Mr. King.
What I was trying to say to you, to everybody, what we fail to realize that the government is not allowing people got it all twisted. You know, as soon as stuff go wrong, they think that the government is the one that's supposed to correct everything. It's not the government responsibility, really, truly, to correct all this stuff here. You know, because they power is limit, and they put all this on the president, and that president don't have that power. He had to go through Congress and the senator. He had all this stuff had to be taken in vote on, and then we take and put all this on one man and say that he should be doing this and he should be doing that. But even if we, for those that do read the Bible and understand who's in control of this world here is up under the wrath of God. And the reason why it's up under the wrath of God because how y'all younger generation and the generation before you guys have raised these kids. We are allowing these kids here to do anything they want to. They cuss us out. They talk to you. They do any kind of way. They got no respect.
I think we're getting kind of off track.
No,
here, sir.
no. This got a lot to do with what's going on with this COVID stuff.
COVID?
And you don't understand why this stuff is out here. And the reason why it's out here is because no matter how much the government do, he still can't control what's going on here. God is in control.
I personally feel like this was made